Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. My apologies for being late. I've had to put all the graphics together before we came onto the stream. So this was a very last minute stream. So thank you everyone for coming down. And I was just thinking, with all the injuries for this game week, right, game week 13, the press conferences coming up in 20 minutes time is going to be so crucial to all the content or all the decisions that we're going to make. So I thought, why not we just have a stream, talk about the latest press conference news that we're going to get, and I'll summarize everything in today's stream, hopefully, and hopefully it helps you guys as well make your decisions. So I got you guys to send in your questions for the Your Questions video this week as well, but I couldn't answer them until I have the latest news from the press conferences. So I didn't want to do a video based off of what we already knew was going on during the international break. Right, so that's why this stream is here. It's gonna happen. And yeah, thank you guys for coming down early. I see already 13 of you guys watching, so thank you very much. Some of you guys in the chat already. VJ, DB and Z, GV and Toby as well, both members in the chat. Nice to see you guys as well. Toby says, Bowen update please, thank you. I would like that as well. I would like that as well. Right, so let me just talk a little bit about my team first, because we haven't spoken about my team yet. I don't think I will have a team selection video out this week, given that I'm already streaming it now. So I guess this can be like a team selection stream. There will still be the deadline stream tomorrow as per usual, right, 3 hours before the deadline. So that one will still happen, but at least just sharing a little bit about what I think about the team. I actually think I'm in a position that that can roll a transfer. So I have one free transfer. I have 0.3 million in the bank, right? Let me just, yeah, one free transfer, 0.3 million in the bank. So if you take a look at my team, I don't really see any urgent transfers that I have to make. I know we're all waiting on the Bowen news, so hopefully we'll get something in about 20 minutes time. But I think even if Bowen is injured, right, let's say he's out for about one to two game weeks at max, I may still hold on to him, right? I may still hold on to him and play Archer instead, right? So something like this. The team can look something like this. Captaincy wouldn't be on Ollie Watkins. I think for now, captaincy, I'm on Haaland and vice captain Salah. This is how it's looking for the time being. But yeah, I think there is a chance that I can just bench Bowen for this game week if he misses out. So I think it's going to be very crucial, the news that we're going to get on Bowen. So as with all of you guys as well, I am waiting to see in 20 minutes time what David Moyes says. I don't think it's going to be anything very concrete. It's probably going to be something very iffy and subject to a lot of interpretation. So I'll be interested to hear what you guys have to say about it as well. But yeah, I'm in a position where I can potentially roll the transfer, bench Bowen, and then start Archer. So I imagine there will be some of you guys in this position as well. And yeah, I mean, in terms of starting Archer, I've seen a couple of tweets online saying that Archer has been pretty lucky getting his returns. He may not return against Bournemouth, etc. But I very willingly take a shot if I'm able to keep Bowen for just this game week. So I'm very okay with rolling the transfer. Right, so that's the plan for now. And then I'll probably set up something like this. So Areola, Livramento, Medicash, Gehi, and then we'll have Saka, Adingra, Son, Salah, and then Archer, Haaland, and Watkins. So Haaland captain. Right, so it'll probably look something like this, right? Of course, depending on whether, if there's any slight chance that Bowen starts, I would go for Bowen ahead of Archer. Right, so let's see what happens. Right, thank you for the super chat, VJ. So this one is for the UNICEF charity drive. So tomorrow's stream will be a charity stream. So thank you for reminding me as well. So tomorrow's deadline stream will be a charity stream. So if you guys do remember, if you've watched a couple of videos over the international break, I launched a charity drive. So we will be donating money to UNICEF, right, to help with all the conflicts going on in the world right now. they are providing humanitarian aid. So as with all the donations that will be happening on this channel until Christmas, it will all go to UNICEF, right? So thank you all for the support on the charity drive. Really appreciate that. um Vincent says, what are you doing with Bowen? Well, we're gonna see in 15 minutes time what I'm gonna do with Bowen. GV says, injury surprises, quite a few for this game week 13, and even the football club managers are not open during pressers. Right, so we have gotten a bit of information. So I think I'm gonna just update this as we go along. So I have something that looks like this for now. And I will update it along the way. So what we are seeing here, right, we'll get the other teams like Manchester City, Liverpool, etc. We'll get the other teams later on, but I've chosen to focus on these 8 teams. I mean, obviously we're gonna get news for all the other teams as well, but I think because I could only display 8 teams, I'm gonna put it like this for now, right? So Arteta and Eddie Howe have had their press conferences, right? So this is basically what we know as of now for Newcastle and for Arsenal, right? So along the way, as we get more updates, I will update this little chart here that we have, right? So let's talk about Arsenal first. So Ramsdale will start. I mean, this one we already knew because Raya can't play against Brentford, right? So Ramsdale will start in his place for sure. Odegaard, as we saw the past couple of weeks, he sat out quite a number of games because of a concussion protocol where he got injured in one of the trainings. There was a concussion worry. So he sat out for a couple of games. He is progressing well. There's a good chance he'll start, as with Ben White. So I think it's good for me to put Ben White here as well. Because Ben White is also progressing well. Right, and for Odegaard and Ben White, what Arteta has said is that there is a good chance that both may start. Right, so I'll leave it there for Odegaard and Ben White, and then Jesus is available. Right, so Jesus being available obviously throws quite a number of Nketiah owners in a bit of a pickle, right? Because those who have Nketiah now, suddenly that's a little bit of a worry, right? So I do think like when Jesus is fit, he's definitely, I think, the first choice number 9, or at least chosen to play in the false 9 position. So that could spell a couple of troubles for those who have Nketiah, right? So that's for Arsenal updates. For Newcastle, Trippier is fine and trained this week, right? So if there's any doubt about whether you had Kieran Trippier and you wanted just any confirmation, Eddie Howe has said that he's fine, he's trained this week, he's probably going to start over the weekend against Chelsea. Almiron has worked really well. So these quotes are exactly the kind of press conference quotes that don't really give too much information. He just says that he has worked really well. I mean, we can base this off the way I interpret it is that if he's fine, I think Almiron starts because they don't really have a lot of attackers up front, right? So they have to start as many of their first team attackers as possible. Fabian Schär, who was feeling a little bit of his hamstring previously in the last game, is not injured. So that's good news for the Newcastle defense. I think Fabian Schär is definitely very important to the Newcastle defense. So having him is good. For those who own him as well, it will come as good news. Longstaff will be assessed, and Lewis Hall can't play. So Lewis Hall can't play against Chelsea because he is loaned from Chelsea right now. Right, so there we go with the current updates. I will continue to scour the Twitter forums and also update you guys on any news that we get. Right, so the moment we get any updates on the press conferences, whether it's Bowen news that all of us are waiting, right, or other players, I will update you guys. I'll show you guys the tweet and everything. So that's how we're gonna do this stream. Hopefully it's helpful for those of you guys who are tuning in right now as well. I'm here for Bowen and Nkunku updates. So I think Nkunku is probably based off of a couple of rumors, they say that Nkunku, there's a good chance Nkunku may be on the bench on the weekend, right? Do you think Kieran Trippier is a good long-term hold? Well, it really depends on their injury situation, if you ask me. Right? I think depending on how they are reacting to the injury situation that they have right now, I'm not so sure if clean sheets will be. I'm not so sure if they will be getting a couple of clean sheets moving forward, right? So I think I really have to assess the Newcastle defense once again. I think there was a little bit of a drop off against Bournemouth for sure, but if they put in a performance against Chelsea, then once again we're going to see a situation where all of a sudden Newcastle defenders are the ones that we want, right? All right, so we've gotten a couple of updates. Okay, so let's go over to Twitter. So this is from Ben Dinnery, right? So this is actually an hour ago, so I think we haven't heard from Pochettino as of yet, right? But based off of I think this is taken from the Chelsea website, right? So Lewis Colwell and Malo Gusto back on training pitches this week after missing the internationals. Pochettino was hopeful Nkunku could return in Gameweek 13, but it looks as though the trip to Newcastle will come too soon, right? So based off of what he's saying here, there's potential that there's potential that Nkunku may miss out in Game Week 13. It probably comes too soon for him. Right, let's see. But I think the impact of Nkunku on the Chelsea attack is going to be really, really interesting. Right, and then for Postecoglou, right, news has come in. So Spurs updates now. There are a couple of injury issues following the international break. Young Ash Phillips picked up an ankle injury. He'll be out for a while. I'm not really too worried about that in terms of an FPL perspective. We'll have to look at Pape Sarr because he's got a bit of an issue as well. We'll see how he is over the next 24 to 48 hours. So Sarr is a doubt. Bissouma begins a one match ban. Right, so we'll put this in the chart that we have here. Right, so begins his ban. Sarr is a bit of a doubt as well. We'll go along and we'll update it as we get more news. For the time being, it seems like everyone else is fine, right? From Spurs. So everyone else is okay. No other fresh concerns. Destiny Udogi is fine. He is available. He's had a good couple of weeks, right? So there we go with this update. So everyone else is okay. So you can assume that Son is fine, right? After the little bit of a midweek scare for Son. And Udogi is fine, right? He is available. Right, so this is what we have for now, but I know most of us are waiting for that Bowen news, right? And I think depending on how long Bowen is out for, it will kind of dictate what I do. I think there's a good chance that if he's out for quite a while, I may switch him to Mbeumo. I may move early, depending on the severity of Bowen's injury. Right, so let's see. But obviously, Mbeumo has already risen in price. I don't think Bowen will drop in price this week. I don't think he will. Right, so we'll see what comes. But at least for now, this is what we have. Right, let me get to the chat and see if you guys have any other questions. No news on Botman. I think not based off of what I'm reading for now. if you guys have anything, there's so much news to cover today. So if you guys have anything, there's any news, do drop it in the chat and we'll take a look. Next says went early on Mitoma to Mbeumo because of the price rise. Hopefully it's a good move. So Mbeumo did actually rise in price this morning. So I guess it was a little bit of a calculated gamble. There is a chance that Mitoma may be fine. I mean, it depends on what De Zerbi says. But Mitoma was pictured in training, right? So there is a good chance that he can play against Nottingham Forest. My guess would be that he does, right? My guess would be that he does. Is Gordon still a good pick, or do I get Palmer instead? So on the Gordon versus Palmer situation, it's kind of tricky because Palmer, I feel like his role may be impacted a little bit with the introduction of Nkunku, which I think will be very, very soon. I think Nkunku will come back. At least over the festive period, we're definitely going to see Nkunku come in. So how that affects Cole Palmer in the positions that he's taking up, I don't think Nkunku will take penalties off of Palmer, but in terms of the positions that he's taking up, maybe it may change because of the introduction of Nkunku. So I think there's a little bit of doubt there. But for the value and the price that he's at, I think he is still someone that's very, very hard to ignore, right? Especially at 5.2 even, being on penalties for Chelsea, with the run that they have coming up, it's very, very hard to ignore. For Anthony Gordon, I think is slightly different. For Anthony Gordon, I feel like it's a situation where Newcastle don't really have their full strength. Right? Their best 11 is definitely not a team that we're going to see for quite a while, and that's because there are a couple of injuries. So in that sense, they are still a very, very good attack, but I'm not sure they can keep up the numbers. So I will want to see a little bit more. If I'm buying one this week, I think I go for Cole Palmer. If I'm buying one this week. Can Reece James hold on to his fitness? That is the question, right? So again, I think there have been a couple of quotes. I think let me pull up the Reece James quote that I saw earlier today. So basically, he says that he's in a position where he feels really, really good, right? That was what the quote was saying. And I mean, generally, when a player says that, you tend to believe as if he's in a good fit. You tend to believe he's in a good mental state as well, and that actually contributes a lot to his performances. So I would imagine that. Right, let me put the quote up. So I would imagine that if he says something like this, right, I haven't felt this good in a long time. I definitely feel my strength and fitness building up again. So I think this does give me quite a bit of confidence. You may end up seeing him being, getting injured again and all that stuff with Reece James all over again. But you look at the numbers that he's been putting up in just a couple of games that he's played, right? Recently, he's gotten a lot more minutes. In just these few games that he's played, he's actually just second behind Kieran Trippier for big chances created since he's returned from injury. So that already tells you that this is still the Reece James that we know. This is still the Reece James that's going to create loads of chances. And I think the upside is definitely there for him, especially if he starts regularly. It wouldn't be great if he subbed off at about 55 minutes. But I think if he's able to get consistent starts, attacking returns, I don't think will be that difficult for him to get. So there's always that risk with Reece James, and that's why I'm kind of putting it off a little bit. I feel like when the time comes for me to jump on Chelsea players, if I'm placed in a spot where I have the extra money and I need to decide whether to go for Reece James or maybe a Levi Colwell, I may be tempted to go for Reece James for the upside. Right? It depends. Let's see what happens. Right, so for those tuning in, for those who just came, this is the news that we have for the time being. Let me just refresh the. So we're gonna have the press conferences right now. So as of in a minute's time, basically the press conferences will start for all the other teams that we are looking at that have blanks here. So Man City, Liverpool, Brighton, Aston Villa, and West Ham. So West Ham is the one that I know all of us are looking for. We're looking for Jarrod Bowen updates, basically. Right. So let's see what we get. For now, Spurs, Newcastle, and Arsenal, all the press conferences for them have been completed. So I think something interesting that I just saw on Twitter is about Bentancur, right? And what Postecoglou says about Bentancur. I think he can play a couple of different areas. He can play as a number 6 or further forward as a number 8. So I think Bentancur coming back for Spurs is going to be really, really good for them, right? They will be missing Bissouma, but I think Bentancur coming back in is a great plus for them. Right, so I don't see Bentancur coming in as a downgrade. I definitely think Bentancur can do even better than Bissouma. Right, so let's see how he fits in. But in terms of the Spurs attack, we're missing Maddison, and that's going to be for quite a while. Right, so a lot of us are saying that Spurs are going to see a drop off in performance. I actually think that may be a little bit too early to say. I still don't put it past Son to score 1 or 2 goals every other game, right? Because he's that kind of player that can make the difference, right? And I don't want to bet against him too often, especially seeing how he's performed over the international break. I think he definitely still has it in him. All right, so let's wait for the press conference news to come in. But basically, I think it should be streaming in very, very soon. Yep, all the managers have arrived. They have arrived at the... Okay, let's head over to Twitter, right? Let's head over to Twitter. So all the news is coming in now. Pochettino has arrived. Onana is okay. Right, he has trained. Shaw will be available for Sunday. He will be in the squad. Right, so Shaw coming back, definitely a massive boost for United. Onana is okay, so he came off some time in the international break due to injury, but it's good news that he's alright. I think Manchester United definitely could use Onana, given that he's kind of at least playing better than he started out the season, right? So Ten Hag is confirmed. He's fit. Onana is fit to face Everton this weekend. Højlund will undergo a late fitness test. Klopp is speaking now. Ibrahima Konate and Joe Gomez, Ryan Gravenberch, Curtis Jones all took part in training on Thursday after missing the win over Brentford through injury. Right, the South Americans are also back. Right, they're also back and they were involved in the trading. So that's really, really good news for Liverpool as well. I think for Nunes owners, this would definitely come as a great boost, right? Because I think there is a bit of risk as to whether Nunes will start immediately after playing for Uruguay over the international break, and those were big games as well. But it's great that I think it's good news that he's involved in the session. It looks like he will start as well. Long-term absentees, Robertson, Alcantara, Bajcetic all missed out, with concerns over the fitness of Kostas Tsimikas allayed after his withdrawal from the Greece squad. Alright, so that's good news as well. Alright, so let's continue to see if there's any news coming up. I'll continue to update you guys. This is an interesting quote from Pep as well. Alright, time goes forward. He is not the same team as the start. They're similar. Trent can play inside, but ideas are similar. Always been our best rivals. Looking forward to it. I think this is typical of pre big game conversations going on here. Evans is out of the Everton game. right? Ten Hag confirms. Colwell will be fit to play, right? So Levi Colwell is back as well. Lavia and Nkunku still out, right? So this is Nkunku news here. Lavia and Nkunku are out. It's too difficult to assess them. They're in good condition. Nkunku is a little ahead of Lavia, doing things with the group last week. Still not full recovery. So I think this is good news. We will see Nkunku soon, but I think too soon. Gameweek 13 comes too soon for Nkunku as well. Right, so all the news is coming in. Has trained with some niggles on Thursday, but will hopefully be a part of Man City's final session today. I think this is enough to say that Haaland will start. All right, let's put all the news in the on our little chart here, right? So let's start off with the Man City news, right? So let's go over to Pep here. Right, so Erling Haaland has trained with some niggles, right? So I think there's a good chance he starts, to be honest. I wouldn't worry too much about Erling Haaland after he's trained. Trained with some niggles, right? So however we interpret that, I will leave it to you guys, but I think there's a very, very good chance that he starts. So I think he's much less of a worry for me now. We'll go along as we get more news. Right, let me answer some of the questions before I miss out on some of them. Looking at the fixtures, kind of confused whether to keep Son or not. He explodes all of a sudden when I think of transferring him out. I think that's the worry always as when it comes to Son, right? That's always a worry. Nick Span says, I'm really torn on captaincy this week. Would Son or Watkins be a good call? Right, captaincy is another tough one this week, I think. For now, I have it on Haaland. I think that will be a higher scoring game than we actually imagine. Right, I do think that will be the case. Since you've addressed it, but since I'm dropping in, any updates on sure you've addressed it? No, I haven't addressed it yet. West Ham news has not come in yet. Let's see what we get from them. Someone says, Bowen injured, I quit FPL. Alright, so it has come in. So Bowen news has come in. Let's take a look at what he says. So David Moyes on Bowen's knee injury. We hope Jarrod will be available against Burnley, but we will make a decision on that tomorrow. Well. What do you guys think? How would you guys interpret this? I mean, it's hard. The way I see it is, I don't think he'll be out for that long. If he's able to say that there's a chance that he will be available against Burnley, I think he's a hold, right? Because we got him in not just for this Burnley fixture, but for the long term as well. So I think if there's a good chance Bowen is fit tomorrow, I think I may just go ahead and start Bowen and have Archer on the bench. I think it's a case where he doesn't come on if he's injured. So I think I'll start Bowen, and then I'll bench Archer. So I think that's probably what I'm going to do. Right, so this is currently right. So yeah, this is exactly what I'll line up with. Bowen in the starting 11, and Archer first on the bench. Let me know what you guys think of this Bowen update. I'll leave this on the screen because I know a lot of you guys are waiting for Bowen news, basically. I have Diaby and Bowen and cash. Should I sell Bowen for Mbeumo or cash for another? Right, so I think based off of this, I don't think there's a need to sell Bowen at all. Right, I don't think we sell Bowen after reading this. Let me just confirm that let's just put it down here. Let me just cross-reference this with other sources as well. Yeah, so this is basically, I think this is, we can rely on this, right? He will be assessed tomorrow, so I think there's a good chance. John David says, need your thoughts. I have Martinelli and Saka, thinking of selling Martinelli to balance up my weak defense. Right now it's Van Heck, Zinchenko, Lascelles, Dawson. 2 free transfers, no money in the bank. Yeah, I definitely think that you need to shore up that defense. Right, I agree with that. So you have to shore up your defense. I'm probably thinking Arsenal defenders, right? They're pretty good long term. Why would Moyes want to risk Bowen against Burnley unless he is really fit? So I think if he's really fit, which is precisely why I'll start him, right? Because if he's really fit, he'll start. If he's not, I don't see a reason why he needs to play. Right? I think they could very well get by against Burnley without playing Bowen. So I don't see a case where Bowen gets subbed on at about 60 minutes. So I'll start Bowen. I'll keep him. If he doesn't play, Archer comes on. Simple as that. Simple as that. Right, let me just update all the other Konate. Yeah, Konate. Let me just check on the exact players. Konate and Joe Gomez, basically. Joe Gomez, Curtis Jones, and Ryan Gravenberch. Yep. Joe Gomez. And Curtis Jones. Took part in training. Right, so another thing is the South Americans are fine. So Nunes and all should be fine. Right, so there we go. I think Moyes has given an update on Mikel Antonio as well. Antonio is set to be sidelined for a couple of weeks with a knee injury. Right, so Bowen will be assessed tomorrow. Antonio out for a couple of weeks. Alright. So there we go. This is what we have for now. Still waiting on Mitoma news from De Zerbi. So let's see what he says. He is having the press conference at the same time, right? So let's see what he says. Right. So let's get some questions going. Kudus a good option. I think Kudus is fine. Antonio will be out for quite a while, so I see that their formation is probably going to be Bowen up front, Kudus playing on the right. So I do think he'll be fine. The problem is when Antonio comes back though. We already thought that Kudus would come in regardless, but I think when Antonio is back, we could see Kudus' minutes get reduced. So he's definitely a little bit more risky than Bowen. Longer term. But at that price, I think he's a good gamble. I think he'll be a good differential. Right, so let's see what I'll update as we go along. Right, if you guys have any last minute questions, let's pop it into the chat before we call it a day on the press conferences. I will still have the deadline stream tomorrow as well, so we'll have some time to absorb whatever that we've heard today. Right, but I think based on the latest news, it's not too bad. Bowen will be assessed tomorrow. That's at least kind of a good indicator of whether he's going to be out long term, which I don't think will be the case. Let's see if we can get any more news on the other press conferences. We're still waiting to hear from De Zerbi. He may be late to the press conference. Start one of Tsimikas, Taylor, and Baldock. Definitely not Baldock. Well, Baldock against Bournemouth. I actually feel like Sheffield will still concede to Solanke. But looking at your options, it's not great as well, right? Taylor, Tsimikas. Start one of Tsimikas, Taylor, and Baldock. This one is tough. Probably flip a coin on that one. Has to be either Taylor or Baldock then, right? If you don't go Tsimikas. Right, so in other news as well, Onana, right, Amadou Onana, so this is the Everton Onana. He wouldn't feature against Manchester United this weekend, right, because of a calf injury. So he probably wouldn't play over the weekend. Let's see if we get anything else. Pochettino is being coy about Fofana. Marco Silva confirms Fulham will be missing 4 players against Wolves on Monday. Issa Diop, Adama Traore, Tyrese Francois, and also Rodrigo Muniz. Right, so Tosin Adarabioyo is almost back, so that could be good news for Fulham. As expected, they're all asking about the 10 points deduction. So let me know what you guys think about the deduction for Everton as well. Will it impact the way that they play football as well? Right? Will it have a change in their mentality and their confidence? That'd be interesting to see. Hope Taylor gets another return with West Ham defenders always conceding. Went early Mitoma to Bowen, thinking how unlucky I could possibly be, and then well, I would say nobody knows yet. Right? Nobody knows yet. It remains to be seen. It remains to be seen. I mean, I am starting to be a little bit more confident of Bowen getting a start tomorrow as well. I am getting a little bit more confident of it. So I think I'll probably go into the weekend with this team. For the Mitoma news, we haven't heard anything as of yet from the Brighton camp. They will either be more motivated or the opposite. It could go either way. I agree with you. If they do win against Manchester United, though, I think that is the perfect response to whatever has been happening in the media. That is the perfect response. Right, so hopefully we get some Brighton news before we end the stream. I think this is pretty much it. I'll catch you guys again tomorrow for the deadline stream. But for now, I think if you guys have any more questions, pop it into the chat. If not, once we get the Brighton news, we'll put it into the chart. Still nothing as of yet, though. He could be late to the press conference. We're not getting anything from Brighton. Let me just check. Right, so still no news as of yet. I think he may be late to the press conference. Right, so the saga with Ten Hag and Varane, right? Ten Hag on falling out with Varane. I don't know what you're talking about. It's just rumors, but there is internal competition when you have to decide between two players who are brilliant, Varane and Harry Maguire. Then you have to make a choice. Excuse me. I have no words to this. Rafa Varane, World Cup winner, and Harry Maguire. I have no words. I'll leave this here with no comment. Do you think I should start Bowen and take the risk of him subbing in late? Or start Taylor and bench Bowen instead? I think you definitely start Bowen. I would be starting Bowen. I don't think we will see a case where he comes on, comes off the bench and basically makes a cameo, right? If there's no reason to risk him, I see no reason why they would just start him. I see no reason why they would just give him a couple of minutes when he's not fully fit. Right, so I don't think we're seeing any news from Brighton. Right, so for Mitoma, I think we'll leave it at that. But I think there's enough news today, right? That has kind of changed the landscape a little bit. Bowen can now be kept, right? Maybe you don't have to move for Mbeumo early, etc. Right, so we will take a while. I'll process all this information and I'll see you guys tomorrow again for the deadline stream. Until then, I think for those of you guys still waiting on Brighton news, you can follow me on the socials. I will retweet. I will also post it on Instagram as well. But if not, I think this is pretty much it for this stream. Thank you guys for tuning in for this short stream. It was pretty impromptu, but it's just basically to set the tone for the deadline stream tomorrow, right? Because all these injuries will be so important. So I thought I'd catch myself up. I catch you guys up as well. And then we'll see each other on the deadline stream. So for tomorrow, I think I'm likely going to go into the deadline stream with this team, barring any last minute, team leaks, etc. This is probably what I'm going to go into the deadline with. So Areola in goal, Livramento, Matty Cash, and Gehi. Saka, Adingra, Son, Salah, Bowen. I'll start Bowen, right? I think there's enough. I have enough confidence to start Bowen here, and then Haaland captain, and then Watkins. So this is probably what I'm gonna do. Let me know what you guys think of it. I'll catch you guys in the stream tomorrow. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys very, very soon. All right, have a good rest. Bye bye.